welcome to a special LinkedIn Live this Wednesday evening. Thank you guys very much for joining me, Kenneth Lang. I'm very happy to have a special guest tonight, Diane Young, who met many years ago. Um, we've gone through different challenges together. We've talked about different networking things. And I asked her to be on a while ago, and like a lot, and she says, she's. I want you to all cheer on a lot tonight. Support her. We're going to be talking about embracing change. And right off the bat, I see Terry Seaman. Embracing change is a great topic and the theme of my new post series starting tomorrow morning. So Terry is one of my networking coaches, just to let you know, Diane. Um, Now you're in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, right?
Yes, I am.
So the question I guess that first comes to mind with me is, what got you interested in the topic, in the whole idea of this?
When you first asked me, it was kind of the transition between summer and fall.
Okay.
And a lot of people I know were talking about their feelings about the changing season. Some people were, looking forward to the fall, and some were, wishing it was still summer.
Right.
So different people have different opinions on change. So as the seasons change, the topic of change came to my mind, and there are so many different aspects of change, and I wanted to share that with your audience.
I know for me, because I do a lot of the coaching with Lee Harrison with the job seekers. Change is a very hard thing for a lot of people in transition to deal with. They're so used to a routine. Get up in the morning, go to work, eating at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're so overwhelmed. And so I thought this would be a great topic to talk about because I know I struggle with change. I am as uh, I'm set in my ways, even though every day is different, and I have a routine. And I think for me, the biggest challenge is embracing the fact that there is no such thing as a routine anymore. Every day is different. Um, so I know in your case, you've been doing these types of discussions for a while. Do you find any differences between different age groups in terms of embracing change? Is it a general challenge for all different ages, or men and women, or is it just something that um, there's one group that it kind of focuses more on?
Um, I think it's pretty consistent. I think maybe the older we get and the more set in our ways and used to things, it's harder to change. But young people as well, they can get pretty set in their ways too. But I think in general, younger people are more open to change.
Hmm. I'd be curious who's actually on the call right now. I see Terry's on the call. If you're joining in now, I'd love to know that you're here and acknowledge you. I know that Diana asked some of her some contacts to join as well. I think it's so important to discuss a topic like this in out in the open because I think ever since COVID and ever since lockdown, a lot of us have gone had a different discussion and an idea about change. So um,
And changing the way we communicate. I mean, this whole Zoom thing and what we're doing now is what took takes me a while to get used to it.
so I see Bob Callison is here. Bob Callison also lives in town in Wayne, New Jersey. Great to see him here. And you tell me, Diane, if there's anything specific you want to talk about. I know that you had some different slides and things that you wanted to share, or if you had some type of an agenda or things you wanted to bring up first. And again, I'm just reiterating, Terry, the only constant in life is change.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to have some quotes. We're going
Sure.
to share some quotes eventually. But what I really wanted to start out with is when I thought about this topic, I realized there are a variety of, I guess, meanings to change or types of
Hmm.
change. So um, for me, the two biggest changes are or aspects of change would be external change and internal change. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that is external change would be changes that happen outside of yourself, in your surroundings, around you. Maybe it's uh, a big change like moving, or a big change like changing your job.
Hmm.
Um, And it could be something minuscule, like your friend changes your dinner plans, or your phone app changes and you've got to figure out a new interface. The change outside of ourselves is one aspect. And then there's internal change. And that, comes from within. And it could be a change in your outlook, your perspective, your beliefs, your thoughts. And it could be something. An example would be you're choosing to become healthier, so you might get up earlier and start exercising or journaling or meditating. So that would be a change from within, and it would manifest externally, but it's really your mindset, your beliefs. And then I don't know how many people are on the call, but I would like to pose a question.
Well, Michelle just joined. Michelle and I used to work together at Bed Bath. She's checking in from Rutherford. So if you want to pose a question, again, this is your show as much as mine. I mean, take it away and however you want to, take care of things.
So another aspect of change is the changes that you can control, and then the changes that are out of your control.
Okay, so here's an idea here. 2 years
Beyond
ago,
your control. Yeah.
2 years ago, I left the job I had been at for 14 years. The same weekend, my youngest daughter went to college, making me an empty nester. That's a lot of change, but all good.
And I like your outlook. That's when you ended it by saying, but all good. We can judge change. We can judge it as bad, good, and attach a label to it. But having that outlook, hey, Jackie.
Yeah, there you go. See?
That's my friend Jackie. How are you? What is it? Friend thrives on change, even though you don't fully understand or appreciate different directions life takes you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes. I think change affects us all in different ways. But so again, if there's anything that you want to talk about specifically, refer to the audience.
Yeah, what I'd love to hear from the audience is if anyone wants to give me an example of an external change, or it could be basically a change that you had no control over. That's really where I want to go. Think about a change that happened in your life that was beyond your control. And if you were willing to share how you felt about it and how you responded to it.
I think it's especially now people feel at least a little more able to share certain things because there's, I guess, a commonality as to things that people have gone through. But I know that the hardest part of all is even acknowledging to other people what's going on, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of times we keep things to ourselves. So if you would like to share, Ken, until we hear from anybody in the group, can you think of anything, any change that was beyond your control?
Well, besides COVID, which I had no control over at all, losing my last job, I thought at the time when I lost the last consulting assignment, I'd get another one. Didn't happen for a lot of different reasons. And I decided at that point, rather than trying again, to just embrace the fact that it's just time to retire from the corporate world. And that was a major upheaval in my life. So Terry just put in here, death of a loved one.
That's huge. That's huge.
My most recent employer was recently acquired. I anticipated I might not be included in the new organization. I was right, but the change came sooner than I expected.
Same day as the acquisition. So who's that, Bob? How'd you feel, Bob?
Well, I can tell you that because Bob and I have talked about it, and I'm sure he'll comment on it. You end up kind of going a little bit with the flow because two more times than not, especially in this day and age, we're kind of not used to permanent jobs anymore. I remember when my mom passed away, it was right in the middle of when I'd started a new job in the city. And I got the call when I was in the Port Authority, had just gotten to work. And all of a sudden I'm like, I have to go home. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think ever since then, I've kind of had a major feeling about life, taking life a day at a time, for sure. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, when my dad passed away, it was a shock. I was with him, and I was working a temp job at the time, and I realized how short life is. And I quit. I had no prospects, but I said, this is not for me. I can't do this anymore. And I just left. So
Bob is okay. Trying to figure out what comes next is a bit challenging.
it is. So we're going to talk about that. We're
Yes,
going to talk
definitely.
about, how to embrace the change. And
Sure.
what was that, Ken?
I said, sure. No, I agree.
Yeah. Um,
Did you want to mention the first slide or talk about?
Not yet, because I wanted to hear from people about internal changes. If
Okay.
anybody
So
has any examples of an internal change
what
that they went through.
so what is it? What is an internal change? Just in case someone doesn't
So
know.
a change in your, it's a shift in your, it could be subtle. It could be just a shift in your belief system in what if you've always believed in something, and either through getting information or, uh, an internal shift in your
Uh-huh.
mindset.
So this is also from before unplanned separation from a company I thought I would retire from, and thought I was doing a pretty good job. Devastated at first, but then put on my big girl pants and went to town on an unplanned entrepreneurship that has completed me both professionally and personally.
And I'm following Jackie's uh, progress, and it's just awesome. It's awesome. She's been on the air, and in a lot of aspects of Jackie's life, I'm proud to be witness to her growth, from doing aerial yoga together. That was awesome.
So again, and this Michelle again, she again laid off from her job, lost her mother and father-in-law months apart. They're both very different. For the job loss, there were phases, and love lost, loved one lost. They're the ones I pray. They're the ones I pray for strength.
Yes,
It's. I think it's so important to have a good support system with whatever you do, for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. And I also want, so if anyone else has anything to share about the internal changes, I don't know, Ken, have you thought about anything that changed within you?
Well, physically, yes, definitely going through physical changes, which has affected my day to day.
Yeah.
And I think the other part for me is just the fact that there's things now that I pretty much don't worry about anymore. And I mean everything. I mean it's so counterintuitive for me. I'm the person that had to have everything in place. I think for me, the challenge sometimes, honestly, I still have trouble going with the flow when things go off the rails. Um, don't know how. I guess I still have to work on that a little bit.
Confession. So do I. I think we're
Right.
human, and
Good.
I think we all, when things shock us, I think somehow we all become a child again,
Uh-huh.
and those fears. And that's actually what I want to segue into, is
Sure.
what stops us, what prevents us or blocks us from making changes. And
Hmm.
I guess when I say making changes, it would be the intentional kind of changes. So, can you think of anything that stops yourself or people, or anyone listening, watching? Um,
I stop myself probably more times than anything else.
and what is it that stops you?
What happens? What happens if it goes wrong? What happens if I make a mistake? What happens if it doesn't turn out the way I thought it would?
So that all encompasses fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fear of the unknown is a
Hmm.
huge component of this.
Yep.
And another aspect, I think, in my estimation, of why people don't want to change, and I'll get to that
So
question in a
internal
minute.
changes, working through the emotions and realizing I had not lost my skills, values, or smarts. So I
Wait,
was able to bounce back and get going.
wait, and that I had not lost my skills, values, or
Right.
smarts. Excellent. Right.
Yep.
That's a belief in yourself. Absolutely.
Self-care is
Self-care is a priority. Yes. When my mind and body tell me I need to do or not do something, I listen intently. And we may not have all been conscious of what our
right,
bodies are telling us. I think we've all been impacted by the destruction in the world recently. Absolutely. And we're powerless.
right.
We are powerless over what's going on around us, and that's what I was just, talking about before, the change that we have no control over. And then there's the changes that we do have control over, and that's how we respond to things. So
Definitely.
just getting back to the blocks, what stops us from changing. So the examples you gave us really all can be condensed into fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
And another one is just being set in our ways. And who here has heard people say or has said out loud, that's just the way I am, or I can't change,
Right.
or, I've always been this way. And when I hear that, and I do hear that in my coaching practice too, it's, I don't want to like throw this at everybody, but it basically is telling me that it's an unwillingness. It's an unwillingness to change. It's stopping just by saying, I've always been this way. You're basically telling me, you, the universe, that I just don't want to. So how do you shift that mindset? And that's where you can put up the slide.
Okay. There you go.
So I'm not a fan of the band Rush, but I heard this lyric one time and I couldn't get it out of my head. And it goes, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And basically, that is that stagnation. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Your choice was to not change, to not choose to do something different. And it just, simple lyric, powerful.
So I'm looking over here. Childhood poverty keeps me on edge, even though now that is not a problem. As a child, the small loss was catastrophic. I react to it the same way now, even though small things have very little impact.
Yeah, like I said before, we revert back to childhood fears, and that's hard to get over. It's got to be worked through,
Hmm.
and that's where changing your belief system. So if you have that poverty mentality,
Hmm.
it takes baby steps to get beyond it.
You bring up also, I have things from my childhood that I still can't get out of my head. Um, and it's kind of ironic because, um, I get together every once in a while with members of my high school class, and there are some people that actually bullied me when I was in high school, and they come up to me now like, "Hi, how are you, Ken?" And there's a part of me that thinks back to that kid in school, like, "Do you remember who I am? Do you remember what you did to me?" And again, it's just a little thing that's a trigger.
Yeah, uh, I can identify too. Yeah,
Sure.
I wasn't really bullied, but yeah,
Right.
I teased. And and it's also like when I talk about internal changes, for me, what's going on now in the world is scary because I'm a child of Holocaust survivors,
Sure.
and
Me too, actually. Yeah.
it's powerful. And there's fear, there's
Definitely.
legitimate fear if you see what's going on around you. But I don't want to get negative here,
No,
so
no, 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 no.
so yeah, but our childhood beliefs, or our, even just for me recently, I'll switch over to a more positive thing. Getting older, health. My health is a concern. So, I've changed my diet because I don't eat fried food. I don't eat fast food. I don't walk into chain restaurants, and it's a choice that I made based on wanting to be healthier, and that comes from the inside and manifests itself on the outside because I get good results at the doctor's office, and we're on the scale. So those are I used to believe I could eat chocolate and not gain weight, and eat fried food and not have high cholesterol, but that's not the reality. So I would love to hear from the group if there's anybody that wants to share about embracing change.
I know for me, I've had to embrace change when it's been like I've had to cut. You talk about health. My health is I've had to change my diet, change what I can and can't have, change my lifestyle. I can't do the things I used to do. Not that I still want to, but the body says no. And
Mhm.
I fought that for a while. Like a lot of, it's like I learned the last time that I couldn't do things I wanted to do when I tried to do it. I mean, so that's a recognition. But I think as you get older, you definitely embrace things a little differently. Um, I don't have the same concerns I used to have about some things. Other things I do. I mean, I don't want to get morbid, so let's kind of because
All right, so let's talk about how do we embrace change.
hmm
The first step that I see is recognizing very clearly what you have control over and what you don't have control over.
hmm
And that brings me to the next slide,
yep.
which is the serenity prayer.
hmm
And if you don't know it, get to know it. And it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and of course, the wisdom to know the difference. I say that serenity prayer at least once a day when I wake up in the morning or when I go to bed at night. And then I have this whole other ritual that I do that's based on my coaching practice. But let's break this down. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Now we can go to the next slide, actually.
Okay.
And that would be if you cannot change something, then maybe change your outlook, change how you see. So if you change the way you look at things, this is a great Wayne Dyer quote. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you can't change something in your life, if there's something that's beyond your control, then maybe take another look at it and see how you can grow from this, what you can learn from this, and
That's
just
that's really deep, and I'm not trying to be, make light of it, but I really had never thought about that in
mhm.
this way.
It's your mindset. It's taking another look at something from, taking a look at something from a different angle, a different perspective.
I love this Wayne Dyer quote. I have it on my desk.
Awesome. Awesome. I
Yes.
can't remember if I saw him live, but I definitely saw a lot of him in, virtually. Um, but there was a time when I went to see a lot of motivational speakers, and that kind of was an impetus for me to begin my coaching practice.
So I embrace change by intentionally being ready for each day, regardless of what it brings, and just be the best human possible and making the best of every situation.
Love it. Love it. So that, yeah, the intentional change is the change that you can, the
Right.
second part of the serenity prayer to change having the courage to change the things I can. And that to me begins when you recognize that something's not working. And if you want to go to the next slide, there's another quote.
Yep.
Another quote by this one's by Shakti Gawain.
Uh-huh.
Change happens not by trying to make yourself change, but by becoming conscious of what's not working. So that's the foundation, pretty much of my practice in coaching is to work with people who begin the process by recognizing what's not working. And if you don't like the way you responded to something or the way you behaved in the past, the beauty is in many cases, you have a chance for a do-over,
Hmm.
to do it differently. If something, if a similar situation arises, and it could be with relating to a family member. If you try to change other people, you're just going to bang your head against the wall because that's not happening. And
But I think, what about the idea of compromise? Maybe you can't change entirely, but maybe you can have two people come to some common ground. Is
oh
that
yeah,
possible?
oh yeah, and that takes communication, and that
Uh-huh.
takes listening. We too many of us want to tell our side of the story,
Right.
and yes, we all want to be heard, but it's important to also listen and
Right.
listen with an open mind and listen with the intention of working for a win-win situation, not I win, you lose.
I think also there's a perception of getting defensive sometimes when you're having a conversation like, it's not me. What did I do wrong or something like that? And again, as Bob said, it's one thing to recognize what's not working. It's another thing to be prepared to keep trying something else, even when the first changes don't appear to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
2 ears, one mouth.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. We should listen a lot more than we speak.
Do you think that's a symptom also of society in general? We're trying to do too much too quickly. We're not really, you know, listening skills are so underrated. Sometimes you're trying to respond to the next comment or question before you've listened to what's being asked of you, and before you know it, you're going off in a whole different direction.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that sometimes. I'm aware of that. And, we're a work in progress. So, awareness, actually, that brings me to what I wanted to talk about with the foundation of change.
Sure.
Um, that awareness is the first step. So, in my coaching practice, the foundation of my practice is I call it the 4 steps of successful uh, change for personal growth. And step number 1 is awareness. And the way I see awareness, it's like when a light bulb goes off and you realize that something's not working. And pinpointing what it is that awareness moment. And sometimes it's getting to a point in your life where you're just done complaining and you realize that the pain of where you are is now greater than the fear of the unknown.
Hmm.
And that's the awareness. The next step would be acceptance. And that's where I say that serenity prayer is accept the things I cannot change. So acceptance is realizing that you can't change other people. You, in some cases, can't change situations.
Hmm.
But acceptance also, in many cases, and not all, there's exceptions to the acceptance, but acceptance also is recognizing, looking within yourself and realizing that where you are is most often the culmination of all the choices you've made. You're in a bad relationship, you chose to stay there. You're in a job you don't like, you chose that job. So if you don't like your choices, then maybe it's time to choose again. And that brings us to action, the 3rd step. And action is when you become ready to take that first step and you make the choice to take the first step in the direction of a goal you may have set for yourself.
Hmm.
And the final 4th component, and they're all A's, 4 A's. The final component is accountability. So for me and the clients that I work with, accountability is that coaching relationship, that coaching partnership, where with working together, the client will come up with a goal and we work through what's been blocking them
Hmm.
from getting to their goal. Step by step, they share their progress, and I nudge them a little bit more, challenge them to take that next step in the direction of their goal.
Hmm.
And it's all for the purpose of personal growth.
I love the point. Be okay to make choices, and you can always choose again.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to when we talk about, fear and being, your child comes out in you. Who here does not remember, playing ball with friends, and you threw the ball and you missed, and you say do over?
Right.
Okay, think about that. When you don't like the choice you've made, or you regret something you've done, do over.
Right.
Allow yourself that do over
Yeah.
any moment, anytime.
Definitely.
Give
Definitely.
yourself permission. So yeah, so that's the core of what I wanted to share is those 4 steps. Have the awareness, recognize what's not working, own it. Okay, we can get to that too. Own it and take that action
Right.
step and have be accountable to someone. So this I came across recently. It is not attributed to Morgan Freeman, but
Right.
his image is there, and why not? The 3 C's of life: choices, chances, and changes. So you must make the choice to take a chance if you want anything in life to change. Again, powerful,
Yeah.
simple but powerful. So make the choice to make the change, to take the chance to make the change.
Do you find that some of your clients, but what do they struggle with in the very beginning? When you're talking to a client, is it that this frustration about even where to start, or they're not
Yeah.
focused, or
Yeah. Not even recognizing what's not working. And one of the things that I may start with, it's not always the case. Some people come to me with, an absolute specific issue.
Mhm.
For me, a lot of times it's relationship issues, and
Right.
sometimes it's being stuck in a bad relationship. And so we didn't even share. My practice is called the LYF experience, but I spell life LYF, and that stands for love yourself first.
There you go.
So part of loving yourself first is treating yourself with dignity and respect, and believing that you deserve that. And if I've worked with a lot of people who are in unhealthy or even toxic relationships, and it's having the courage to spread your wings and fly on your own. And I mean, I'm just thinking of a song lyric
And
from.
we're just to let you know, Carol, we are going to get to this. How people can get a hold of you. We are definitely going to.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes. Okay. How do we reach you? We'll get
Yeah.
to that. I just
I
was
just want.
reminded of a song lyric though. I love Alanis Morissette. Her music
Uh-huh.
speaks to me. I saw her recently. She was the first concert I went to after COVID.
Okay.
And there's a song called That I Would Be Good. And the last line in the song is that I would be good, whether with or without you. But I mean, the whole song is, it's just believing in yourself and recognizing that you're good, you're worthy. Um, but occasionally there are clients who come to me and they're really not sure of what area of their life they want to work on. And I have this little thing called the Wheel of Life, and it's broken into segments of whether it's career, whether it's family, relationships, um, finances, whatever area of their life. And they kind of rate it on a scale of 1 to 10
Mm-hmm.
of how satisfied they are with that aspect of their life. And then we kind of look at it and say, okay, if there's something that really sticks out to you, that might be where we choose to work on, what we choose to work on first.
Sure. Sure.
And it could segue into other things. But I'm going to explain something else before we go on to contacting me. But
Do you want me to put up the slide which has those different A's so that people can see it?
sure.
Like,
You could
like
take a
this is probably.
screenshot. You could capture it.
Yeah, that's why I figured people can take it. I'm actually going to do that now. You just reminded me. Here's a screenshot.
Awareness, acceptance, action, accountability.
Yes. Again, it's very, I think sometimes we have, and I think for me, it's as much as anything else is acknowledging the fact that sometimes we need help and support. I think there's a mindset maybe that we all can figure it out on our own, and we can't. Whether it's talking to someone else or just kind of, doing regrouping.
Yeah. And one thing I learned is, sometimes it's fine to talk with a good friend or a family member, but sometimes those friends and family members have their own agendas.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty neutral. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a say in, why you should do something, or I don't even tell people what to do, believe it or not, as a coach. The client really figures it out through
Hmm.
opening up. And it's empowering. That's why I proudly call myself an empowerment coach, because the power comes from within. But I was going to say, some people have asked me what's the difference between therapy and coaching. And in a nutshell, therapy really focuses on emotional issues and maybe your past, and healing the past wounds, where coaching encompasses a little bit of that. I don't have any medical degree, so I'll be right out there with that. But basically, it's more action oriented. So it's figuring out, like I said, what's not working, figuring out what's blocking you, and motivating you to take baby steps toward your goal. And it's never, I never push anyone beyond what they're uh, capable or willing to do. So it's really an action oriented movement toward your goal.
Right.
I don't
And
want to keep you in, like a therapist you might be in therapy for 20 years.
no,
I don't want to keep you around for
but
20 years.
you also had to go through some coaching training and things too, right?
Yes, I'm a graduate of IPEC, the Institute for Professional, it used to be called Empowerment Coaching, and now I think it's Excellence in Coaching. They don't like the word empowerment. I do. I didn't let go
Okay,
of that.
good.
But yeah, I'm IPEC certified life coach.
Yep.
And it's gratifying when somebody has, that light bulb go off, and they begin the journey of personal growth.
Definitely.
So,
So what makes a good client? What
someone
makes
who's willing to talk,
right?
somebody
Okay.
who's open to talking and not shut down.
Okay.
Um, Somebody who's willing to look within themselves and willing to look at the dark stuff, not just, oh, I'm great, but, or also not self-pitying. It's, I did have to end a coaching relationship with someone who was completely unwilling to see the bright side of anything. And that person pretty much really needed therapy, and there was nothing I could do to
Now, can the
bring that
coaching be
client
done?
out.
Can that be done online through Zoom, or does it have to be in person, or are there certain advantages or disadvantages to doing it different ways?
Yeah, assorted ways. Yeah, so it can be done at my home office in Fairlawn, if you like the in-person contact. Can be done on the phone. I have not done the Zoom, but willing to. So, and I've done some workshops, and I've also, um, I'm beginning to dabble in going to people's homes with, doing some small group coaching,
Can I
I've
share?
incorporated music, art, dancing,
And
and
we were going to sing David Bowie before this went off. We were going to be singing Changes on this call.
were we going to be doing that? Because
I
I
don't
did
know.
have it queued up on my iTunes. I mean, on my YouTube. Where is it? Why, you want to play that? No,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if anybody has any questions at this point
Sure.
about embracing change. If anyone is feeling motivated to make a change in their
Can I put up
lives, I
the
would love
contact
to.
information before I forget?
Sure, put up my contact
While
information.
we're waiting for people to chime in. And is it okay with you if people want the slides that we can share them with someone else, or maybe I'll just put that on LinkedIn itself. You tell me what works best for you.
What do you mean? This slide with my?
Like the slide presentation. I mean, I'll put your contact information. We do the follow up, obviously, but in terms of if someone wants to see this actual presentation, is it something that you would be willing to let people have a copy of if they ask for it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to just take this off for a second and mention Terry is since because Terry's also a coach in a little different space than you. And he's saying he's been coaching by Zoom and phone for the most part with occasional face to face. I know a lot of the coaching or the job search coaching I do by its nature has to be online because
Hmm.
the people that I work with at LYF Harrison are from all over the country. And we have to get together, and we also have to be respectful of time zones because that's a big part of it. I mean,
Yeah. There is somebody that I've never met that's in another part of the world, and we have our call at 5:30 in the morning, my time.
5:30 in the morning, huh? Really?
Yeah.
God bless.
There's another time zone we're dealing with. So, yeah, it works.
I think the challenge with all these calls and all the stuff that we do is being open to different things because um, everyone's got a weakness and no one is perfect and everyone's got struggles and everyone's got challenges and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging them. I think a lot of us now, it's sometimes struggling with how much do you share, which I get a lot from a job search perspective. How much do I want to share about what I'm going through? How much of what I want to share that what I'm going to go through on LinkedIn or somewhere else? What is the amount of sharing? And it's probably a
Yeah.
personal decision, I guess. But I mean, that's one of the things I get from a job search perspective. Is
It is absolutely a personal choice, and some people can overshare and inappropriately share, and sometimes people are shut down and don't want to share. So that's another thing, maybe, is to look within yourself and say, how will it serve me? How will sharing serve me, or how will keeping my mouth shut serve me? And again, you test the waters. If you
and I'm
want to be your authentic self, then it's okay to share, but know who your audience is. Know if somebody is trustworthy to keep personal things to themselves.
just to let everyone know, if I put up a comment and it says LinkedIn user like this, what it means is that you and I are not first connections, and your settings have been set so that only your own first connections can see who you are, which I found out the hard way. Because when I was at LYF Harrison, I was calling up someone's profile and they did not have a picture. And they said, of course I have a picture. And I said, I don't see it. And they logged on and they saw it. So a big part of even our discussions is when you are on LinkedIn, do you show your picture? Do you show who you are? Because I get a lot of pushback on age discrimination. I don't want to show how old I am. I don't want to show that I'm experienced. I'd rather let people guess. And I don't know if that's something that is part of your discussions as well. Do you get that? Some of those the blame and the whole discrimination thing and all that.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm just curious. Like, do you what do you see? Do you see some of those discussions as well? Because your clients probably come from all different walks of life, I would think, right?
Yes. Yes. Some are more open than others. That's what I can share.
Okay, no, and I think that's the challenge is I think you have to be able to open up to yourself first, probably.
Yeah, and it could take time. It
Yeah.
could absolutely take time. Um, what I would like to offer anybody who's watching or listening. Um, I love what I do. And if anybody got something out of this discussion on change or would like to look into coaching, I am offering a half hour complimentary coaching session. If you reach out to
I'll put
me
that slide
through,
up in a second, but I wanted to let you know about Terry. Thanks, Diane, for being Ken's guest. We need to hear more from coaches. Coaches are incredible resources to help people achieve their goals.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ken and I talked about this hopefully being the first of a
We talked about
few.
doing this as either a series or about future discussions because I think this is a whole different aspect. I talk a lot about the emotional aspect of things when I do things. You can talk about technical how to do things, but sometimes a part of the journey is opening up and talking to other people for sure.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you want to contact me, we can talk more. Uh, Also, if there's any suggestions on future topics, I'm open to it.
Sure. And you'd be willing to do this again?
Absolutely.
And it's not,
Absolutely. Maybe
and,
toward the end of the year, I have a whole thing on reflections and intentions, looking back on the year behind us, setting our intentions for the
and
year
would you
ahead.
be, if anyone was interested in having you as a speaker to their group, would that be something that would interest you as well? If you could have a
Yeah,
chat with them?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, reach out to me
Yeah.
and open for discussions.
Fantastic session. Thanks for the, and yeah. And that was
Uh,
why, and I mentioned that because I think a lot of times, and I again, there's a comment that my friend Brenda Meller makes about you when you want to say something to comment, but you don't want to criticize and you don't want to come off like, haha. It was the old like you've got like something in your teeth sort of thing. Like you would say you have something in your teeth to a friend and they would understand it. So you want to be sort of diplomatic about that, but you want to let people know that there's something that they can do. And that's why I wanted to bring that discussion out that way. So again, the corporate, I love this positive conversation. The corporate world is challenging, especially for honest, straightforward people. Thank you. And again, I think what I found missing from a lot of the conversations is that we didn't do a lot of discussions about um, coaching in this way. I mean, there's job search coaches and there's other coaches, but sometimes you just need to have someone, a sympathetic ear, and someone
yeah,
willing to push back nicely. I mean, and that's a challenge we have too in our space. There's a
yeah.
difference between criticism and feedback and how you present it and how you portray it, for sure.
Yeah, and I also want to say when somebody wrote about, corporate world, I'm not a corporate coach and I'm not from the corporate world. Um, but what I bring, to what I could bring to a business is the human aspect.
Sure.
So the other thing I wanted to say about my contact information, when you were talking about anonymity and LinkedIn user,
Yep.
I did not put my phone number on there, and that's because I don't answer calls unless I have the contact information in my phone. So if we do connect um, through an email, and then I can put your name in, then I would provide my phone number. So just wanted to be clear on that too.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely. I
get too
mean,
much spam, and I literally do not pick up my phone unless I can read a name. So if I don't have your name, I don't pick it up.
I get it. I do, and that's unfortunately the way that things are these days. Um, so again, willingness to be vulnerable is the best path to positive change.
Oh, yeah. Being vulnerable is not being weak. It's really not being weak. It's being strong enough to allow yourself to be real.
Hmm.
Too many of us wear a mask all day long,
Absolutely. Uh,
bravado,
I was guilty of
cool.
that for many, many years, and then one day I just like, and I'll never forget that the first time I really lost my job. And maybe this is a guy thing. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I have to put on a happy face because it's like people say, where are you working now, and all that stuff, and you make up stuff, and you don't want to deal with it. But I got to a point where you know what, this is who I am. But it takes a
Mhm.
lot of inner discussions.
Oh yeah. I work a lot with affirmations too.
Hmm.
You are enough. Let's end on that one.
Sounds
You
great.
are enough.
So I want to thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Diane, thank you so much. I hope this was
Thank you for inviting me, Ken. You're a terrific host, and love the participation, and look forward to hearing from anybody who would like to communicate with me. Thank
and
you.
I'll go back and be commenting on everyone's comments later on as I can. Again, I'm just looking at a few things. Being transparent allows others to really support you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have a great night, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Good night.